Doug, I would love for us to kind of start with how a boy from Indiana
right.
ends up coming here to LA.
Hello.
LA.
It's your Cockney accent.
It's my Cockney, you know. It's like, shh. Anyway, of how you end up going from Indiana to taking on a lot of these iconic roles and going in a very specific career path with the roles that you take on. How did that path happen?
Right. Everyone looks at my career and thinks, how the heck did that happen?
I woke up
Me
one
too,
day
by the
and
way.
said, hey, yes, when I grow up, I want to play creatures. I mean,
I never once said that in my life. No. Yeah. I actually, growing up in Indiana, believe it or not, I was really tall and skinny back then. I know, right? All right, but so. And in the Midwest, if you're not in that small sliver of what's considered normal, then you'll get made fun of. So I developed a sense of humor for survival's sake and became the class clown. And what inspired that was all the sitcoms of the day, which would be all reruns of I Love Lucy, the Dick Van Dyke Show, Mary Tyler Moore, Carol Burnett's variety show. I loved all of that. I ate up at Gomer Pyle, Gilligan's Island. You're right. The
you guys do know some of these series.
Do you know these titles at all? I know you're so young.
Okay.
Are you 3? Okay. Like Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show, played by Don Knotts. So he was my hero. Guys like that who were also like goofy people who were making a career of it. It was like, there's hope for me. So when I came out to Hollywoodland in 1985. I thought that it would be to pursue sitcoms and being the goofy sidekick, like, being the next door neighbor who's like, hi, or the office mate who does armpit farts and says something funny. That's what I thought I was going to do. Little did I know that being as tall and skinny as I am, and having a background as a mime from college, right, that body language and this frame would be delicious to the creature effects makeup industry. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a career option, really. Now, I'd seen horror films before. I'd seen monsters on movies, and Boris Karloff from as the Mummy was my very first I ever saw, and was like, oh my gosh, what is that? Right? And I saw The Creature from the Black Lagoon on TV with my family and all that. So I was inspired and intrigued by that, but I didn't put it together that those are actors playing those roles. I thought those were really monsters. How? I don't know how they got them, but yeah, it was great. Right. So little did I know that I was going to be that one day. I had no clue. So that was a big surprise to me. But when I started acting, it was TV commercials. In fact, my agent's office was catty corner from here in the CNN building.
Okay.
The Wilhelmina agency. And I got snatched up by them for TV commercial representation when I was in a TV commercial acting class. And I had my bachelor's degree from Ball State University back in Indiana, majored in radio and TV broadcasting, had a minor in theater. And I came out here with that and no really on-camera experience as an actor. And in TV commercials were a complete conundrum to me. So I took a TV commercial workshop that was taught by the president of Wilhelmina's West Coast office, big modeling agency named in New York. And
I was going to say, because Wilhelmina, I know it as a model agency.
Right, and they had a TV commercial department here that was in the top 10. Well, who wouldn't?
Calvin Klein model right here, right?
No, thank you, but no. So after my second class taking a TV commercial workshop from Philip Carr, he gave me his card and said, call me at the office. And I did, and he was the president of Wilhelmina. I was like, I got an agent! Oh my God! And it happened really fast. I didn't even have headshots taken yet. And it's like, I was like, yeah. I didn't realize that I'd skipped, I jumped the line a bit on that one, which is great. So until I started auditioning for TV commercials for about 6 months and booked my first job as a dancing mummy, back to Boris Karloff, a dancing mummy for Southwest Airlines. And that was boding of things to come. That was, yeah. And then my fourth booking I ever got was a big campaign for McDonald's called the Mac Tonight character. It was a crescent moon that had sunglasses and sang at a piano. When the clock strikes, hey!
Do you guys?
He was like this cool cat, like you remember? Yeah, thank you. Again, too young. A lot of you, yeah. Well, because that campaign ran from like '87 through '91, something like that. So We did 27 commercials in that time frame. Bought my first house with that. So thank you, McDonald's. Right? I never thought I'd say that, but yeah, you're right. I love McDonald's. I do. They have a dollar menu. They do. You know what I'm saying? I did. Yeah. No. I take advantage.
Had I known.
I know.
They were.
But what that did for me, the McDonald's campaign specifically, high exposure around the world. The campaign was wildly popular, and so the question, "Who's the guy in that moonhead?" came up, and so a lot of creature effects people that had worked on the commercial shoot worked at other shops around town, like Stan Winston Studios or Rick Baker's or Greg Canham's. The big Oscar-winning makeup artists always had a shop of their own, so that we would borrow their employees to do a commercial shoot, and they would go back to the shop. And that's 27 commercials over 3 years. So I met a lot of creature,
money.
and I met a lot of creature people in that time.
Sure,
Thank you.
yeah.
Creature
people.
Creature people. Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. So what would happen at the creature shop then would be when they would see a concept design come through for a movie or TV show of a tall, skinny alien or a tall, skinny scarecrow or a tall, skinny animal-man hybrid, they would think, I just worked with this tall, skinny guy on that commercial. Here, you should call Doug Jones, and that's how the referral process started for me. And what gets you that referral was not only being tall and skinny and moving well, but being nice and being easy to work with. I did not complain in the costumes, and that was a big one because have you worked with actors before, any of you? Right.
Yes.
Like, yes. You know what divas we can be, right? You know, like, this is hot. Get it off me. Yeah.
He did that every single day he was on our set. No,
I
just
know
kidding.
I did not.
No. You were wonderful.
Wasn't I great? Yeah.
You were great. Well, I was telling some of my students one time when you were, you saw him in the trailer, some of you, that when he was a scarecrow, and we were shooting like 2 o'clock in the morning out in Santa Clarita.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's freaking freezing.
Yeah.
And you were in that costume, and we had like smoke machine coming up, and I just remembered turning around, even though I knew what I was doing, I was a producer on this thing, but it's dark and this, and I turned around and there's Doug. I was like, I got scared shitless, excuse me for being in there.
No, it's all good.
I was like, no, but it's just me.
I know, it's just this inside, I swear, yeah.
But you know, when it's dark and it's fog machine,
and you have yellow eyes.
His leg and got yellow
Yeah,
eyes,
no,
and
I
I
know,
just
I
turn
know.
around, not expecting him to be there, and it's like, there you go.
Good. I get that a lot. I also have to introduce myself to all the crew at the wrap party of anything I work on. Like, no, I was the guy in the. You know.
It's like, what does he really look like?
Yeah, you think about that. Yeah, nobody knows who I am. Exactly.
It's almost like in when you're watching. We were talking about Wizard of Oz. It's like, you know, don't look for the man behind the behind the
curtain.
screen, the
Yeah.
curtain. You know,
Don't look at that. Pay no attention.
Pay attention to the man behind the mask, behind the makeup.
Right.
Now let's fast forward a little bit to some of the roles. Like, anyone see Hocus Pocus? Remember the Hocus Pocus?
Right. I was Billy Butcherson, the zombie guy. I know.
There you go.
Oh yeah, you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can we transition how you became involved with Pan's Labyrinth? Was that the first time this relationship started?
No, that was movie number 3 for,
was number
for
3.
Guillermo Del Toro.
Okay.
Yeah, I met Guillermo Del Toro from one of those referrals from the Creature Shop people, right? So my phone rings one afternoon at about 2 in the afternoon, back in 1997. So it's been 21 years ago. And the call was coming from a producer saying, we're doing some reshoots on a movie called Mimic. The movie comes out in 3 weeks, by the way, in theaters, and they're doing like last-minute pickup shots and things. Can you come make it down for a night shoot tonight downtown LA? I live in Santa Clarita, so it's like, I'm an out-of-work actor. Yes, I can make it. I'm there. Yeah. So I got down there, and what they had me put on this. Did anyone see Mimic, by the way? Yeah. Right. So you know, it's overgrown cockroaches that kind of take over the subways of New York City. Very feasible, by the way. So have you been to New York? Yeah. So there was a bit of a facial transformation to make it more bug-like, and a long trench coat that had a wing sort of effect. Mm-hmm. So these bugs kind of mimicked humans. That was where the unsettling thing happened. Was that these big bugs look like humans, but they're and then they fly at you and they kill you. So all I had to do, they were just getting, again, this is pickup shots and additional footage. So there was a piece of a scene missing. If you saw it Mimic, there's a Catholic priest who gets who's walking out in the rain, and then one of the bug guys comes out from out of the sewers and drags him down and kills him. So they needed some filler in there, and that was at the edge of this building, a 3-story brick building downtown, standing at the edge of the building, just kind of looking over the edge like this, right? Dressed in this thing. That's all I needed was this. That's all, right? So I'm like, yeah, oh, this is an easy gig, right? So and all the crew was down on the ground, so I never saw the director was on a megaphone, and I was in one of these, so I couldn't really see anyway. I'm getting pelted with a rain machine. Oh yeah. So I thought, well, okay, this will be over soon, and it was. And so then I came back the next day to do some interior green screen shot, a quick shot of with the green screen behind me, and it was inside with a much smaller skeleton crew, and that's when I met the director, and that was Guillermo Del Toro. It was his first American feature film. He'd done a lot of work down in Mexico before that, and he had his feature film Kronos was already done by then, so this was his second feature film ever, and his first American one. And it was a studio film with a big budget, so it was a big deal. So at lunchtime during that green screen day, he sat right across the table from me at lunchtime, and I hadn't really interacted with him yet. And here's this roly-poly man with this thick Mexican accent, and he says, "So tell me everything you've been in before." So I start listing off my resume. Well, and by then I had done a Hocus Pocus. I had done Tank Girl. Anybody see Tank Girl? Yeah. Right? I was one of the kangaroo guys in that. Oh, okay. Of course. And you know, and a myriad of other things. I was talking about my commercial work and all that. Oh, anyone see Warriors of Virtue? That's another kangaroo man mutant I played. I know, I played 2 kangaroo man mutants in my career and 2 fishmen in my career. Who else can say that?
But who else can say it's been also Oscar nominated, right?
But that's the odd part of this entire scenario. Right. Yes. I know. So where was I?
You were talking about bringing Guillermo Del Toro.
Yeah. Right, so by the end of that conversation, we connected on creepy crawling monsters, and I thought, this is a 12-year-old boy in a grown man's body. He was just such a delight. His eyes were so bright, and like, he just wanted to hear about monsters and who makes them, and who have you worked with, and what's he like? Is he a nice guy? It was really great. So by the time we were done, he got my card from me and kept it in his wallet. 5 years later, I get a call in 2002 now. This was 1997. 2002, I get a call from another creature effects guy named Steve Wang, another brilliant one. You probably know aware of him. Yeah. Hey, Doug, it's your friend Steve. This is a phone, by the way. That's old school. Oh, yeah. Right? They don't make them like this anymore.
Now, right? It's got to be more like this.
It's got to be more like this.
There you go.
That's right. Okay. I'm sitting here with a director friend of yours. We're out to dinner, and we've been talking about you. And it was what had happened earlier that day was that they had the creature effects team had done a maquette, which is a clay sculpture that's scaled down of a character, so you can get a 3-dimensional look at it for shape and size. And they had sculpted this character, and we're inviting the director in to have a look for his approval. Well, the character was Abe Sapien, and the movie was Hellboy 1, right? So they unveil this for him when he walks in, and that would be the director, Guillermo Del Toro. And he looks at this skinny sculpture, in this great superhero kind of pose, and he just looks at it and goes, "Oh, you are so beautiful, and I am so fat." That's what he said. I think what he meant was, what a beautiful thin creature. I think that's what he meant.
Because you are a Wilhelmina model.
I am a Wilhelmina model. That's right. So anyway, what happened then right after that was the guys the sculptor who did it, the designer Steve Wang, and the shop owner Mike Elizalde all had worked with me before, and they all said, who should play this is Doug Jones, and that's how that referral thing kept going, right? And Guillermo said, "Doug Jones, wait, I know Doug Jones." And he pulled my card out of his wallet that I gave him 5 years prior to this. Are you with me? I know. Carry a card with you, I guess. Yeah, right? Yeah.
My branding students, yes, what we're
talking
about.
There you go. So that's why the phone call happened, and then that's how Hellboy 1 happened for me. And that's the movie that really established our relationship more as actor-director, where we got each other. And the thing is, Guillermo's the kind of director, he gets everybody. He'll meet you and kind of size you up and suss you up, and he'll know your weaknesses and your strengths, and he'll want to massage the strengths. And he's a brilliant man in general, and he's somebody you just want to hang out with anyway. If he was here in the room, you'd want to go out for coffee with him afterward just to like listen to him talk.
And what's wonderful is that, and some of the students might know this, I mean, Guillermo has also spoken here before as well, and when Vanessa Taylor was here a few weeks ago, for those of you who had listened as well, who was one of the co-writers with Guillermo Del Toro on Shape of Water, and Aaron Sorkin, who was here as well, is the one that said, you work with Guillermo, you're like being in a classroom.
It is.
When you work with Guillermo,
everybody's a school day.
It is. He's like it's not like he's directing you, you're also learning and he's teaching you at the same time. And
you laugh a lot.
And you
laugh a lot,
which is great.
Yeah.
You know,
no, he's a genius. He really is.
So it was really interesting, hearing that from the panel when they were here, saying that as well. Now that we're talking about how you acquire these characters, now they're very different than just saying, okay, you're playing Joe Smith and this is your backstory, so develop that character.
Right.
How do you develop creature characters? So like let's even take Shape of Water for one, because this was so iconic. It's this love story. How do you delve into creating that story so that the public is able to feel what you're saying? Because I think this is a little bit different than the others also, because here you never said anything either.
Right.
Where in others you're still sort of saying something.
Depends on the character, yeah. Some speak, some don't. But all of them speak if you visually at least, right? So there's always visual dialogue no matter what. But what's the process like? How to?
How did you? Let's kind of go through part one and part two of the question. So how do you prepare for delving into these certain characters that you are with who they are?
Well, when I get offered a role that's like otherworldly creature, it's like, oh, again. But for instance, you mentioned Pan's Labyrinth. I'll use that as an example. When offered Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo, which was after Hellboy, he sent me an email saying, "Doug, I'm doing this, but you got to." He types in that voice. You have to give me. So he wanted me to play the faun and also the pale man, the guy with the eyes in his hands, right? So I read the script, teared up, wiped them away, said, "Of course I have to be in this movie," right? So what came then next was, okay, the character that I need to play, the title character, is a faun. Well, he's part goat, part man, part tree. If you've seen the movie, there's like a lot of, and he speaks reams of Spanish dialogue, which I do not. So there was a lot of prep time on this one. So I get the script will tell me everything, and most actors will tell you the script is your Bible. It has all the information you need in it, but you get flavors and colors and shapes from your director. So once I read the script and taken in all that the writer has which was also Guillermo Del Toro, by the way, on the Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water with Vanessa. But then I want to meet with him and have a sit down with him ahead of time, which is a luxury. And you don't always have time if you're directing a TV commercial, especially, or maybe even if you're a television series director and you come in for one episode, you don't always have a lot of sit down time with your actors ahead of time. But we had the luxury of having a sit down, and Guillermo told me a couple of bullet points. And by now he knew me and knew my working style, and I knew his directing style. So he was able to give me some bullet points, quirks and nuances that he wanted to see. So with the faun character specifically, he said that he wanted this. He said, "Dougie, study the hind quarter of barn animals." No, I'm like, what an odd note. Yeah, but what he meant was, how barn animals, like, how do they shift their weight? How do their hooves meet the ground? How do they shake off flies? Whatever it is. He wanted me to kind of have a look at that and incorporate that into the faun somehow, right? Because the faun is a hoofed animal, even though my hooves were covered with tree branches. It was it was a really confusing story. So,
You sure not in therapy?
I should be. I think making the movies is my therapy, believe it or not. Yeah. Right, I work out all my issues. So the hindquarter of barn animals, and the other note was that you will be aging backwards. So keep note of your body language, because when you meet the faun in Pan's Labyrinth, the first scene, I'm a bit more rickety, and the makeup job too was different. I was a bit faded in color. I had one of my horns was eaten away. My eyes were more cataract looking and cloudy, and so So as the scenes progress throughout the movie, I get younger every time you see me. More color coming back to my hair. My horns are filling in. My eyes are getting clearer, and my body language had to be more fluid the more I went, and my posture had to be more healthy and young, right? So that was a note, and you always film out of sequence, out of order, right? So I had to keep track of what scene is this, what came before, what's coming after, so I would know where in the timeline I was and what to embody that day. And that makeup did help because they were also on the same page with that timeline.
How long did it take you to get into makeup?
5 hours a day for the fawn, and then 6 hours a day for the pale man. And that's kind of when you're.
Bathroom's not an issue, right?
Bathroom is an issue, a huge issue. In fact, yeah. So yeah. Well, I'll hit the bathroom bits in a second, but the process, right? Then. So now, once I've gotten those, that's all the notes that Guillermo had for me for the fawn character. He wanted me just to go home and play with it, and that's why he comes back around for me. He trusts everybody on his team, and if he comes back for you time and again, it's because he likes what you do and he likes what you bring. So I did my best. So what I tend to do is go into a dance studio or my 24-hour fitness gym, and I look at the mirrors and I have the floor to myself at 2 in the morning when the classes are done. And I'm thinking, okay, posture. Okay, where does it start? Does it start down here, 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 here? You know, like I want to find where the character lives. What's his home stance? And then from there, what does the script call for me to do? Does it call for me to lunge, crawl, go up a wall, squat a lot? And a lot of characters, you have to start building these muscles because a lot of characters you play as a monster are, doing something like that. So the fawn, I was going to be up on stilts, up on like, I was 7 feet tall as the fawn. So that means I was in a high-heeled position in like little stilt things. So I had to get balanced and strong walking around on my tiptoes. So that's kind of what I did. And then I thought, I better do this. I'm going to be 7 feet tall working with an 11-year-old girl. That's going to be a height difference. So that means there's going to be a lot of this, right? So now imagine this, by the way. At 2 in the morning at 24-hour fitness, and you're doing this, and there's a glass wall and some guy doing this. Right? Yeah, it happens a lot.
Was this in West Hollywood, though? Then it would have mattered,
Yeah, no,
right?
right. So that process, and then from that, that's me in a t-shirt and shorts. Then we take all that pre-work and go to start my costume and makeup fittings and test makeups. Then that informs the character even more. Now I know what I've worked on, can I do it? Or now the fawn character had ram horns that came out like this, so a tilt of the head was extremely dramatic because it was so much wider. Finger extensions too made my hand gestures extremely more pronounced. But if you practice something here and your suit only lets you do this, well, you have to make that alteration, don't you? You got to change that up. So so the makeup tests really do also help inform the character, how he lives as well. And then by the time you come to film, when we were done, we'd gone through our first week of filming, and Guillermo came over to me one day after a week of filming already, and I was on a special chair. I couldn't sit on a chair. I had a bicycle seat kind of thing. And a T-bar that I could lean forward on because I had a tail coming out of my ass. So it was like a conventional chair wouldn't work. So I was like, I heard his footsteps coming, and he says, I know you have not heard much from me, my friend. And that's because he hadn't really been saying much while directing me. They just kind of action and cut, right? And I said, no, that's fine. He goes, well, there's a reason. It's because you're getting it right. So now there's a good director. If the soup tastes good, don't overspice it, right? Right, and that's Guillermo right there. So he liked what he saw, had no notes for me. So he said, well, if that changes, I'll let you know. So of course, so we do direct. You will get direction and alterations. Now the Pale Man in that same movie, the Pale Man. At first, he told me when I wake up and start chasing Ophelia, he wanted me to be more. I could have sworn he said, be disjointed and gangly as you come, down the hallway. So I kind of came at it with a gallop, and I think, And after the first take of running down the hallway after her, he said, "No, Dougie, what?" I'm like, well, that's what you told me. He said, "No, George Romero zombie." That's all he had to say. And I'm like, got it. And so what you saw in the movie was from that note.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
That is
There you go.
funny.
Simplicity is best. for me anyway. And every actor is going to be different that you work with. And Guillermo's directing style changes between me and Selma Blair or Ron Perlman. On the Hellboy 2 especially, I noticed that how he talked with each one of us was a little different to fit our personality type and to fit our what we respond to. You know, to get Selma Blair worked up one day, she had to have a scene where she confronted Jeffrey Tambor's character, and had to like face off with him and be like, yeah, you know, and to get her fired up for that, Guillermo came up to her and did this. Right before the take, he would push against her, push back, push back. That's it. All right, push back. Right, action. Right, are you with me? So he got her like, he got the tension going ahead of time. He never did that with me ever. So he finds out
But
where.
that's the teacher side of him. That's like
absolutely,
that teacher
absolutely.
side of him.
Right. So bathroom.
Oh, he's good. He's just,
Right.
I'll just sit back down there. He's got to go all by himself.
Well,
now,
you asked
right?
about that.
Yeah.
Because you know when you're in a full creature suit from head to toe, you wonder like, how does he do his business? Well, you often. Okay, so. The Shape of Water. Let's use that as anyone see The Shape of Water yet? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I had a great ass in that movie, right? I had a great sculpted body in general, but that wonderful ass came at a price, and that was, and that was no opening. Is what I meant. So I was encased in that for maybe 17 hours a day, 18 hours, right? So that means you have to take care of business ahead of time and make sure that you're not going to have an accident. That's my biggest fear, is that I'm going to take the suit off one day and be like, oh, you know, I just, biggest fear of my life. I'm 57 now, too. This is a young man's game. Don't I look great, though? I know. Thank you. I begged for that one. I begged. Thank you. But then there's often, I've had a front flap in most of these head-to-toe rubber suits. And the front flap, though, is of no use to you if your hands are in webbed fingers with claws, right? And you're glued into that, too. So at lunch break every day on The Shape of Water, they would unglue one of my hands so I could eat lunch and unsnap my things and maybe have a pee. But I had to time the pee for that lunch break every day. So I had to temper how much water I took in when. I went through most days a little bit dehydrated. Again, a young man's game. It's not something I want to do every day. But when you're making a piece of art like that, the sacrifices, when you see the results, you're like, okay, well, that's why we do this.
And it's amazing, you know. And congratulations on that too. I mean, this is huge. This is huge. It's funny. I was talking to Doug. I said, so what are you doing after this? And he says, I'm going to Armani. I'm going to Armani to get fitted for my Oscar.
I don't want to boast.
So like,
well, they called yesterday to say we'd love to outfit Doug for the Oscars. I'm like, well, Doug would love that. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
He's going to be walking and strutting. How are you going to be strutting down the red carpet? Are you going to be like crawling?
Yeah,
down?
probably.
You're
Yeah.
gonna be like, thank you.
Yeah, like that walk I just showed you. I'll probably do that. You know.
I just had this image of you walking down there with your wife around this chain, be like, yeah, that's my husband.
Oh, I'm on a leash. Yeah. No, you take a beast to the Oscars. Of course, you better chain him up. Yeah.
Everything that you have been doing and working on and have coming up, if you were to have one particular role or project that you would love to do, what would that be?
I get asked this a lot because after 31 years in the showbiz and playing a myriad of monsters and creatures, I often get asked, is there one that you haven't played yet that you would love to? And 5 years ago, I would have told you that would be, I would love to play a classic vampire like Nosferatu. Well, I can answer that now by saying I have. Yes, I did. It's not out yet. That'll be later this year. You'll see a Nosferatu remake. Well, it's actually a Nosferatu remix. What our director did, David Lee Fisher, he every shot of our movie had a green screen element to it, and what that green screen part was filled with was something from the old movie, the original 1922 film. So so I got to play in that 1922 environment that Max Schreck got to play in.
That's
believe it or not. Yeah. Wow. So that was just like dreamy for me, and we did the same thing. There's a movie out there. Did anyone ever see the original? The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, right, from 1919. Yes. Another silent film, and David Lee Fisher turned that into a talkie with sound as well. We did that in 2005, so it's been a while. And we won some awards with that, and that was also the same process, combining old movie and new. We were all filmed on green screen and plopped into the original film. And I played Cesare, the somnambulist killer, in that, and so knowing that he was going to be helming this remix, it's not a reimagining. It is absolutely an homage to the original film, because that's why he wants to incorporate the original film in it, and the dialogue that he writes is dialogue that you would find from the silent film. But silent films, it was a lot of this. And then a dialogue card would come up that says, "Yes, Mother." And like, he said a lot more than that, right? So basically, the dialogue that he wrote for this filled in the gaps. Just basically filled in the gaps. It didn't try to rewrite it. He just filled in what you were missing. Yeah. Yeah.
Are these all as character, or what about like playing yourself? If you can play yourself.
That's the other part of this answer I would love to give you. Now this is if you know me from the sci-fi, horror, fantasy, comic book, superhero genres, I was also the Silver Surfer, you guys. I know. Right. Yeah. In the Fantastic Four sequel. But so if you know that body of work of mine, you would think like a dream job would be to play, Deathman from the DC universe, which is another one. But what I really want to do is I want to be a dad of an adult daughter giving her some great advice in a Hallmark Channel movie. I'm sorry, I know, you weren't expecting that, were you? Yeah. No. Actually, I had the pleasure. I did a Hallmark Channel movie called The Ultimate Legacy. It was a part 3 of a trilogy. There was The Ultimate Gift, The Ultimate Life, and I was in The Ultimate Legacy. I was Raquel Welch's butler. I got to wear a 3-piece suit with a bow tie and a watch chain. I was in makeup for 10 minutes. Are you with me? Okay. Little thing on the thing, a little hair, done, right? Yes. Yes. I could go to the bathroom for myself. I could go to the craft service table and get my own carrot stick. I could pop a can of soda and right?
Exactly.
Oh, no, you don't understand. I want more of that. Yeah. And I also love the Hallmark Channel because I love happy stories with happy endings and low stakes. The worst thing that happens in a Hallmark movie is like, oh, there was a misunderstanding. I love that. I love the feel goods. Oh my gosh. So if I could do more of that. I could
never judge a book by its cover. Right?
Yeah, right. I could wear a Christmas sweater. Yeah. I could hold a cup of cocoa while we're having a great chat. Oh, I would love that. Yeah. So anyway, start writing, okay? Okay. Whew. I know, I got worked up, didn't I? I know.
See, Doug, I teach a pitch class at school.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was prepping him. So this was his pitch to you.
Exactly.
I think I taught him well, right?
You did good. You did good. Okay.
Okay. I wanted to open it up now to our students and have them ask you some questions as well. It'd be great.
Sure.
Anybody have some questions? Yes.
I definitely have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So in The Shape of Water, there's a scene that I thought you were absolutely phenomenal in, and I want to ask you how you did it. It was the ballroom dancing. How did amphibian man do a ballroom dance?
I asked myself the same question.
So elegant.
Oh, thank you.
What was that like? What was that collaboration?
I am not a ballroom dancer,
and
Guillermo Del Toro knew that neither I nor Sally Hawkins were ballroom dancers, so he had us we filmed in Toronto. We got there about 3 weeks early before the film started filming. Another luxury you don't often have is rehearsal time like that before a film starts. And so we were working with the choreographer, Roberto Campanella, every day for 3 weeks. And so it was a short routine, but when you have a couple of, it took us that long. So, but what that afforded us though was not only learning steps and learning a routine, but we also learn trust. When you have a dance partner, you have to trust them. We're doing dips, we're doing lifts, we're doing spins, where we have to rely on each other and balance. So we actually got very much in tune with each other during that rehearsal time, physically, and also we got in tune with each other in our hearts too, because during our downtime, we'd be laughing and talking and telling stories and sharing our hopes and dreams and sharing our fears, and we laughed together, we cried together a little bit, we got to know each other. So by the time, and we were both terrified of this movie too, because there was a lot riding on it for both of us and a lot riding on it for Guillermo. It was a passion project for him. It's something he's always wanted to do. And so there was just a lot, And so to share that with someone and be like, are you scared? Yeah, I am too. So to share that was like, got your back, I got your back, got it. So when we came to filming and we're doing intimate scenes in the bathroom, where her robe comes off, and now we got to, okay, all right. A lot of trust had to be in place, and so it was, and we had a deep affection and respect for each other that hopefully turned into some chemistry on film. Yeah, that's my hope.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
And even the dance in the water.
Thank you. Well,
Don't tell me all those secrets. I want to learn that. You know, how you danced how everybody was in the water. That was.
Well, you filmmakers, you want to know.
Yeah.
We did some in actual water, some dry for wet. So let's see. If you've seen the movie, dry for wet would be also like when she first meets me. We have glass between us. I'm in a tank cylinder thing in the laboratory. That was a dry tank that had some smoke in it with some lighting effects that rippled through, and me on a teeter-totter. So I was kind of sitting on this thing going to give me a little bit of buoyancy, and they would move the teeter-totter up toward the glass, and I would hit the glass with the speed of someone in water, and that's how they sold it. Then the bathroom scene where she stuffs towels under the bathroom door and floods the room, right? Yes. That bathroom set was rebuilt in an 8-foot tank, and they filled it with real water. And so we collected our air at the top, and we plunged down and heard action on speakers underwater, praying for the cut cue. Yeah, you know. And that's so we had some choreography down where we kind of spin around each other in that, and that was actually in water, hoping that we wouldn't, get swept away or die.
Yeah,
And right, the final scene of the movie where we're floating, big expanse of water, and the two of us are floating face to face with our legs gently kicking, suspended from hip harnesses with wires going to a ceiling, also bobbing up and down gently, smoke-filled set, with light rippling from the top to give it that light coming down through the water effect, and fans blowing on Sally so that her skirt was flowing, her hair would start to flow, and they would add in post-production a little bit of bubbles and some hair enhancement for her, and not much else, honestly. Yeah, it was really a great effect. Yeah, Guillermo Del Toro. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
How does the costume for Saru on Star Trek differ from all the the monster ones? Because it's mostly like a jumpsuit.
It's an actual outfit. It's human clothes almost, right? If Starfleet is human clothes, it's still tight spandex, isn't it? That's a great example too of another costume that helped inform my character some, because on Star Trek Discovery I play Saru. I'm a Kelpian alien. The Kelpians are a species of alien never seen on the show before, never seen on any Star Treks before. So I had to develop a new alien creature for the Star Trek franchise, which was a rather big responsibility, right? Yeah. So my makeup process is 2 hours. So if you've heard the 5 and 7 hour ones, this is great. 2 hours is it's like merciful. So it's head and hands, basically. I have gloves that go on at the last minute, and then they zip my sleeves over that. And the head and neck makeup is done. It takes about 2 hours to put on. Then a uniform goes on over that. Part of that uniform is those boots. My Kelpian character has hoof feet. So again, I'm up on the balls of my feet, but I'm in like those Lady Gaga type shoes where it's a high heel shoe with no heel under it. So it's all on the balls of your feet, you're all bouncing. So when I got those boots on the first time, it kind of threw my hips forward a little bit. So I'm in the wardrobe fitting area, kind of doing this, like, how do you walk in these frickin' things? And I found myself assuming this posture. I was like, well, there's a posture I haven't done before in 30 years. I kind of, that looks kind of hot. Okay, yeah. So I started walking like a supermodel, and my arms, instead of doing this, they started doing this behind me. I'm like, I love all this. So the boots informed everything all the way up. It was really a genius thing. And the rest of it too, the outfit is skin tight. All of us are in these. You have to be in good shape to wear a Starfleet uniform, or because everything shows. Oh, if you had a corn dog, it'll show. So with that too, during one of my early fittings, I'm doing this in the mirror, and I see a cluster of our designer, Gersha Phillips, who was nominated for a Costume Designers Guild Award. For this show. She's there with some people, and they're doing this. And I said, "Oh, you're talking about my ass, aren't you?" And she was like, "Oh, yeah, we are." I said, "Yeah, and you want to pat it, don't you?" "Yeah, we kind of do." So I said, well, you know what? This conversation comes up in almost every character I play. Ass is kind of flat. Yeah, right? So I said, this time, can we celebrate the flatness? And because I'm an alien, and if you pad it up, it'll look like a nice athletic, ass on a guy. I'm a Kelpian alien. Why not just leave it like it is? I look more like an alien walking in the room than if you alter me, right? So let's leave it. So they're like, you know what? He's right. So on Star Trek Discovery, it's my ass for the first time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
He fought for that ass.
I fought for that ass. Yeah.
A follow-up with your comment about you wanting to do like a Hallmark less costumey thing.
Yeah.
Is Saru a character you would play until the end of the series?
As long as it goes, yeah. I've fallen in love with Saru. I really have. He's very, very layered. Every episode is another onion peel layer coming off. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he had that in him. No, they've given me a full range of emotion. Unlike Spock, for instance, who has he's intellect and no emotion. Saru is both, and I love him and the way he interacts with others on the show, on the bridge. And the part that of Star Trek Discovery that's very difficult is the bridge babble, the science speak, the tech talk. Oh, in paragraph form, just like words you've never heard. You have to go look everything up, and some of the words you can look up, and other words are Wikipedia because it's a Star Trek made-up word. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, aha. So memorizing dialogue is an issue for me on this show, just because it's not
Your
like
normal language.
it's not Hallmark Channel dialogue.
Okay, I got it.
Because
Again,
having a relationship discussion, that's one thing, but having a science discussion, completely another ballpark. Yeah. So.
Other questions? Yes.
I have two questions. The first one is, since you were always interested in being the class clown, ever being in costume, like behind the scenes, do you always tend to try to scare people or take advantage of at least?
You would think that'd be a great advantage, a great opportunity. Except that when I mess around on set, which I did on Hocus Pocus some, what I find is though that it takes a lot of your energy gets sapped much quicker when you're wearing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I find that between things, I really have to take it easy and find my happy place and save it for the camera. Because when I mess around, I get to camera like,
Well, you did that day on set when we were on set, but you didn't do anything. You were just standing there, and you scared the hell out of me.
Oh, when I was a scarecrow?
Yeah, when you were scared, turned around, I was like, ah!
Yeah, it was a night shoot too, so I had a blanket over me and a cat sitting on my lap at one point. Yeah,
so he did scare me on set one time. Because
we had a stray cat out there that found my lap, and I was like, oh.
And it was dark, and like I said, it was cold.
I'm petting the cat with my twig hands.
No, it was great.
Pathetic.
The black cat.
Yeah.
What was the first role that was the most strenuous on you as far as costume and character goes, and how did you deal with that?
That's a good one. Well, I think prep work ahead of time, also part of the scenario in the dance studio with mirrors and all, part of that too is working out and getting in shape for the specific character. What does he have to do? What is he going to be wearing? How much weight is it going to be? I did a movie called The Adventures of Galgameth. We shot it in Romania back in 1995. So were you guys born yet? Yeah, okay, good.
One or two, right?
For a minute. Yeah. Oh, you weren't? Precious. I know. Okay. So, but it was kind of like a nice Godzilla character, right? So it was a very large lizard man who grew to 50 feet tall, and was like, "Arr!" And I helped the young prince save his kingdom. It ran on the Disney Channel. Anyway, it was a 100-pound suit, and and it wasn't distributed evenly. It was kind of like a lot on the shoulders, a lot of straps on shoulders, and then a big head that had mechanics built in, and so it was loud and heavy, and just like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah. So again, being able to speak up for myself and say, I have to sit down. It's either sit down or fall down. These are your options, right? So they would get an apple box under me as quick as they could, or whatever, but just again. That's my responsibility, knowing that I'm going into something like that, to get in the best shape I can to carry that off. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
Once you infiltrated that referral network that you were speaking of earlier, to what degree did you have to continue to audition for the more high-profile roles that required full-on prosthetics?
Yeah.
Especially ones that didn't require dialogue, and what was that process like?
I've hardly ever auditioned for those high-profile character roles for some reason. it's been really super rare. It's because a lot of directors that are not Guillermo Del Toro don't know exactly, that haven't maybe worked on a film with a creature in it. They really rely on those creature effects makers and creators to, if the creature shop guy says, oh, the guy you want for this is Doug Jones, the producer's like, oh great, you got somebody? Great, that's load off our backs. We don't have to worry about it. Because they trust their decision making, and we've worked with them before, he's good at this and this and that, and they'll be like, great, fine. So that's all the farther the discussion's gone most of the time, honestly. What I have to audition for more is television guest roles, believe it or not, when a network isn't sure, like, well, yeah, he's been a monster, but can he act? I'm like, oh God, are you kidding me? So yeah, so I've gone. I did a show called, there was an anthology show called Fear Itself. It was on NBC, and it was a follow-up to the cable version, which was Masters of Horror. Anybody? And that was an anthology show where every episode was a self-contained 1-hour story, and it never did. And the next week was a completely different story, different actors, different everything. And each episode was directed by a notable from the horror genre. Well, my episode was directed by Larry Fessenden, who had done a movie called Wendigo, I think, and I was playing a Wendigo in this episode of this show. Well, he woke up in the middle of the night when he was worried about casting. Who's he going to get for this episode of his? And he's like, oh, Doug Jones, that's perfect to play like this guy who goes for a transformation, he wants to eat the wife and kids. He gets a cannibalistic thing going. So of course that would be me, right? Yeah. So it was a human role, but it was a human who's been sort of infected with this spirit. So Larry was like so proud of himself, and he went to NBC and said, I got the guy. And they were like, well, can we see him? I'm like, okay. So I went in and I had to audition for it. I kicked ass, and then, okay, and then, but the question came up then about my age. At the time I was 40, how old was I? This is 2008, so I was 48, about to turn 48. And all the Fear Itself casts, all the episode casts had been skewing in their 30s, right? Late 20s, mid to mid 30s. And here I was a good 10 years plus older than their demographic. So then I had that question to deal with. Is like, oh, well, should we put him at the centerpiece of our show when he's not the demographic age group that were, the coveted 18 to 34s? I don't know what makes them so coveted, but anyway, old people rock. So anyway, well, once I auditioned for it, then they did cast me. It turned out to be like their highest rated show, their highest viewed show, and the critically acclaimed. It was like it turned out to be. And one of the producers was eating humble pie, and at the end of the episode, he said to me, I think you're the best actor we've ever had on this series. Well, it was very sweet of him to say that. So I don't say it boastfully, I just say it it was a big surprise to me too, because I also am very unsure of myself. So when someone says we want to audition you, I'm like, yeah, you do, because I suck. That's my first answer too. But so thank heaven that all worked out.
But you have coming out at the end of March. You have, is it Hell's Cat or Hell's? There's a
Hell's Kitty.
Killer.
Oh, okay. They're
but you play
myself.
Yourself.
I'm a priest in an exorcist scene. That was here's a story. That was a web series. That was only contracted as a web series. So it may or may not come out at the end of March as a feature film because
there you play your.
I do play myself.
A little makeup here and there, but pretty much yourself.
So if it doesn't come out, it's because they never contracted any of the actors for a feature film. We were only contracted for a web series. So that's another issue. Take care of your paperwork. do your paperwork right, honestly, yeah.
Any a few more questions? Yes.
Have you ever considered comedy?
Well, thank you. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. In fact, I think I told you, I was hoping to get into sitcom when I came out to Hollywoodland in the mid '80s. I was like, oh God, and that dream kind of came true. There was a series called The Neighbors on ABC a few years ago, and it only ran for 2 seasons. But it was a hilarious show. And I played. I was in 6 episodes of season 1 as a recurring, as a human, but it was the storyline that these aliens landed on Earth, took on human form, and took over a subdivision of somewhere outside New Jersey, and so they were trying to pull off being humans, and there was one family that moved into the neighborhood that was human, and they had no idea what they'd moved into. right? It was a neighborhood full of these aliens who bought out the entire neighborhood, except one unit became free because they flew back to Mars or whatever. And so these people buy the house, and now they're in the middle of this alien neighborhood. So I was one of the weird neighbors in about 6 episodes. Going to work and laughing every day, it was just a dream for me. And our showrunner was Dan Fogelman. He's also the showrunner for This Is Us and many other shows out there.
He's done a lot.
Brilliant man and funny man. So that was the most low-pressured TV show I've ever been on. Everyone was just laughing all day and had nothing to prove. So it was really, really great. Yeah. So yes, I would love more of that. Yes.
Take one more question. Anyone have any more question? One more question? Yes.
So I'm one of the instructors here, and one of the things that we talk about is kind of the behind the scenes and the business of the business. Do you have like a publicist? How do you handle all the responsibilities of doing publicity around your
That's what I was doing.
and your shows and the demands that are made on you in that regard
Yeah.
outside of it?
That's something they don't teach you in acting school.
Yes.
I wish they would talk about this at some point during instruction time, because it's the PR machine is an animal that if you don't understand it, it will eat you up. Right? It's exhausting. Right now, I'm at the tail end of the PR run for Shape of Water, and this movie, as an example, it opened in New York City on December 1st, L.A., Chicago, Houston, other big cities on December 8th. December 15th in Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Kansas City, those kind of cities. And then every week it's been opening in smaller markets and going wider for 2 months. It opened for 2 months. That means the press machine never stopped, right? So we did a press junket in LA, one in New York. We did screenings in LA with Q&As in both cities as well. And then the interviews come at you, phoners or Skype interviews, or it just never stops. So I think that the most you'll see actors that you'll realize that they've been doing this for a while and they're bored with it and they're tired of hearing themselves talk. But it's the first interview you've seen of them. So I have to remind myself and anybody who asks me that whatever interview you're giving, it's the first time that person has heard your stories, and they might ask you the same exact questions that everybody else has asked you, but they don't know that, and this is the first time. This is fresh information for them. So keep it fresh for yourself, right? Find the love, find the love, right?
And I do have to say, speaking of PR, because I have been dealing with Jess as publicist for the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
and
getting to hear.
You know, as I just got to say, you guys have to say, really thank you for allowing Doug to come here today, because he's got such a tight schedule.
Thank you.
And do you have, before we bid adieu, do you have any final words to our upcoming Guillermos out there, or actors, or from the wise man?
No, I don't know how wise I am or how much advice I the usual things of believe in yourself, and no one else is going to champion you like you do. So if you know you have talents, trust them, trust your voice, use your voice, whatever that voice is, also, relationships are, as you've heard my stories today, a lot of them are built on relationships, especially with Guillermo Del Toro. That is a coveted relationship that many actors want, and many directors want too. They want that Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio connection. They want that Tim Burton, Johnny Depp connection. They want that, and I have my Guillermo Del Toro, Doug Jones connection that I'm really tickled pink about. And that didn't come because whatever you do when you are networking, I'm going to use those air quotes, but whenever you're doing that, be genuine and be honest and be a real person and be a real friend. Connect with someone because you like them, not because you want to use them, because they can smell the usury, right? It smells nasty coming down the hallway, right? So be genuine, be real, and connect with someone because you like them. Friendships in LA often are showbiz based. And the networking part, the business part, will come out of it eventually. It does. It has for me over the years, but it's never been forced, right? So when it's forced is when you start getting this from people, right? So I would say be real, be you, and be good at what you do before you try to sell it too. Always, right? Don't try to sell a product before it's cooked, right? Right.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yay. Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.